it's kind of awkward because I actually got this thing a while ago, and I knew I had this option to ask you questions. I just didn't really know what to ask because I just didn't really dive into everything as much as I should. And one of the reasons why was because the clients that I do have, they're just like, I never kind of was able to get to that next level. You know what I mean? So I've got like small local SEO clients, and really like a lot of the stuff that, like the backlinks and stuff that you talk about, especially that's the first course I purchased from you. But a lot of the stuff I listened or read about, like, that was like fucking years ago. I think it was like, you were just like, how to make a blog post rank. It was like, at the time it was when Google, what was it, like Google's version of Facebook, whatever, when you posted it in there, I guess it was like automatically indexed to that page for that thing. I forgot what it was. It was like, whatever. So I followed all of the instructions you had before in your blog. And it was awesome. I even had like Cinewire. I was doing like Web 2.0s and sending all that stuff out. So I guess, today I was just thinking, one, I don't know if I have like the capacity yet to even like get to like go to that, for those particular areas that you're talking about. But I was just going to ask some questions about like local SEO, whether or not Web 2.0s still work. I use Bright Local to kind of track rankings. Okay. Just your thoughts on stuff like that.
Okay. Yeah. Fire away.
Yeah. So what does work on local SEO that you know of? I mean,
start with a big one. So look, if I'm being honest, we don't do much local SEO. The reason being just pretty much the problems that you just outlined is that you only get to you kind of cap out at a certain point, right?
Yeah.
Unless you're working with like enterprise or franchise level local SEO people, it's just really hard to build a company, scale a company when somebody isn't paying you.
Right.
Like if you're doing the same amount of effort, if not more, for local, but getting paid a third to a quarter of what somebody would be paying you for another campaign.
Right.
So in regards to local SEO, I mean, the same concepts still apply. Actually, like in my opinion, SEO's gotten easier. Like we're getting results really easy for clients now by just really following the basics, which is like proper website setup. If these websites are on WordPress, you're pretty much good. Making sure that they have dedicated landing pages for their actual locations, right? So if it's like a coffee shop, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Proper URL structures, very basic stuff. And then really just good keyword research and on-page optimizations. Again, like for a local website, it's not rocket science. It's not like you don't really have to get too much into intent and shit. It's pretty straightforward. Building supporting content on the website. So like really for local websites, like if you're like, what do you have an example of a client that you're working with?
Oh yeah. I mean, here. So, trying to think here. All right, here's a perfect example. So, let's say this bar here, it's my buddy's bar in like New York City.
Okay.
So like this place here. So of course, I've got the, I built them the WordPress website. Of course, I've got the address on the website page. I know right now COVID is like happening and stuff, I get it. Right.
Sure.
One of the things that, let's say, has worked well for me in the past was I'll get a keyword, I'll create some content around that keyword. Right. And then I'll just go from there. But of course there's some of these like major keywords, like, if I get like lunch specials, NYC East Village, right? Obviously that's a huge keyword that they're not going to rank for because they're not, they're not listed as a restaurant. They're more of like a pub or English, Irish pub or whatever.
Yeah.
And I think the thing is like, obviously I'm thinking of like, do I take, what is there like, I know there isn't a magic bullet for anything.
Yeah. If you wanted to go to lunch specials, basically you would just need to create a page for it, like a dedicated landing page that was like, it would have to be about their lunch specials, or another option could be, so go back to the SERPs.
Okay. Yep.
You see the top result there is Foursquare, 15 best. Those rank really well too. So like, obviously you might have to mention some competitors in there. But like,
oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, but look, I mean, so this is why like you'll learn over time, and maybe it's a decision you want to make now, why you this website is just not a good candidate for SEO. Because I mean, like if they're going to pay you a couple $100 a month, whatever, that's fine. You can take it and you can serve as more of a consultant. But like if you think about it this way, it's that like, just from the fact that we're having this conversation about like, what are the keywords that they can rank for? Like, there's just not really a lot of options for them to go after. Cause like
That's
it's going to be
gotcha.
really hard for them to rank for like best restaurant NYC. Google just
Right.
want to rank a website. They want to rank like Yelp, Foursquare, like you just saw. You know, like the maps pack is an option, but like, again, it's very specific. Again, it's like, are they a bar? Are they an eatery? Are they a cafe? Like there's so many different fucking things. So like the amount of traffic for them is just very small. And like to go after something like that, that's more timely, like lunch specials. You know, it's really a social play too. You know what I'm saying? Like getting featured
Right.
like blogger accounts, like all that different stuff, right? Which again, is just a lot of work. So, you know, in my opinion,
it doesn't pan out.
yeah, exactly. So like I say it's quite a bit, but like SEO is not for everyone anymore, especially like it's getting even less more so for a business like that. Like my buddy owns, like my best friend here in Miami, he owns 2 gyms. He owns a restaurant. He owns like a bunch of just like kind of spattered around local businesses. And he is like dying to pay me to do his marketing. I'm like, yo, like it's not a good fit. Like I'm going to like, even if I were to charge you
Right.
bottom dollar, like $1,000 a month, like, which we don't do, but hypothetically, if we were to do that, like you're not going to get a return. Like people aren't really searching for your business like that. It's just, it's completely shifted to much more of like a social play. Local businesses grow the best off referrals. Like if you have good food, people will share it and people will come,
Right.
you know, kind of that type of deal. So like experiential type marketing, stuff like that, like, you know, building experiences in the store. I mean, granted pre-COVID, but like building some sort of experience in the store that like someone want to come take a picture, share it on social media, or like having some sort of dish that like, you know, comes out like on fucking flames or something and they want to take a picture, like stuff like that. Right.
Right.
It's much more powerful. So like, you know, it's really tough to do SEO for those types of businesses. And then you get stuck in a situation too, where it's like, okay, well, they only want to rank for this one keyword. So it's not that hard, but like, again, you're still spending time in these thoughts that you're having outside of the time that you're getting paid to be working on is actually taking away from your business. Right. So like, so, I mean, I know it's tough, especially if you're at the stage where you're at to be like, I'm not going to work with these types of customers because they're paying my bills, but like, it's just not worth it, man. You know what I mean?
That's what I'm, yeah. So, I mean, okay. So I've got a plastic surgeon in Detroit, but I make mostly, I mean, that's all AdWords.
Okay.
I mean, you know, she's obsessed with like SEO, which I redid her whole site. I mean, of course I followed all your instructions, categories, you know, proper link structure, all that shit. You know, I get it.
Yep.
The thing is like, obviously with her, it's like going to have to be like social. It's going to have to be like Google, you know, you know, just to get her those leads, and she's very happy. But here's the catch. How do I, you know, really I mean, this is my next question essentially, which is probably one everyone always asks you. You know, my goal isn't, I mean, I'm not here like, oh yeah, I want to be this big time something, right? But I would like to, you know, I would like to be able to, it would be nice to be able to kind of meaningfully, you know, get a client. But what would you do in your case? I don't know much of your personal story, but you know, I understand that you, I know you like you went one to the future, or then you went to whatever. But you know, what would you do if you had to like start from, you know, scratch? I mean, I know you got a name. Well, that's a whole nother story.
Well, yeah. I mean, I mean, basically, what we're doing right now is actually, I have some. So like it's tough for me to use the example that I'm in now because I'm in a much different position. Obviously, I have quite a bit of leads coming in, so it's almost unfair, but I am going through it in the same sense, meaning, you know, when I left that company, I left with no employees, I left with no leads, nothing, right? Basically just got the rights back to like run an agency per se. So we've had some inbound leads trickle in, and I've been hitting them pretty hard for referrals too. I mean, that's the thing is that once you do a good job with people, so like the past 6 months has just been about kind of like taking on any client that we can that can meet our minimum retainer, which right now is low. It's only $3,000 a month. And second of all, so we can build case studies and get results. So actually what I was working on right before this call was putting together some ad scripts that are just talking about the results that we've gotten for 3 clients, right? Because then I'm going to take those, advertise those, and then use those as kind of like demand gen and case studies for us to close specific types of deals. But we're also going after pretty much only B2B WordPress websites, like software companies, not even attorneys. I mean, just anyone who has like somewhat of a moderate to high ticket lead, because what that allows us to do is focus less on the technical side of things, which is expensive from an agency point of view. Like I have one person in the house to do that, but I want to focus more on kind of like overall strategy. So point being is that we're focusing on a very specific type of SEO, and then we're just going to take that and just we're going to start doing some outreach in the next couple of weeks to attract more people. Like look what we've done for your peers. We can do this for you type shit, right?
Got it.
But it's kind of a chicken and egg situation, because like, how do you get there if you don't have those clients? Like, how do I only work with attorneys if I don't have the attorney clients, right?
Right.
You got to start somewhere, start small. I mean, just based on what you've done so far, like to me, documentation of case studies and social proof is everything. Even if that means extracting a small win from a campaign. Like, let's look at this restaurant, for example. Let's say you cannot rank them, just hypothetically. You would never be able to rank them because it's too competitive, or Google just doesn't want to rank them.
Yeah.
Instead, what you can do is you can focus on maybe the relationship that you had with that client, the consulting aspect, helping them understand, helping them go from like an offline focused business to like a digitally integrated business, right? And like telling that part of the story. Any client that you work with, as long as they're comfortable being referenced, I think you should work on extracting any sort of win that you can, you know? So like, again, what about the engagement that you have with them has been something that you can tell a story around that would attract other people, right?
Got it.
And again, it's not always about first place rankings. That's kind of like a common misconception. It's about the relationship. It's really about the problems that you've helped them solve. And again,
so focus on those, and then don't get too obsessed with them wanting something that is unattainable. Because
yeah, I mean, so that's where your job as a consultant comes in and kind of needs to help them educate and understand what's going on. Like if they're like, no, dude, like we only want to rank for NYC's #1 restaurant, then you pull up the good SERPs and you're like, let me just show you what's happening when people search for this. Like Google's algorithm doesn't want to show your website. Why? Because when somebody's searching for best restaurant, they want to see reviews from unbiased, real, verified accounts. They want to see a multitude of restaurants. They want to see menus, right? It's just not a good experience for me to search for NYC's best restaurant and then get redirected to a website that, doesn't really, so from that sense, like that's also what they're paying you for. They're paying you for your expertise. Like I've been giving this example a lot recently, but we just bought like a fixer upper style home and we're pumping a lot of money into it. And we're talking to contractors and that. So like, I've done my research online, but I'm not a handyman by any means. So like when I have the conversations with them, I'm leaning on them for their expertise. It's not just about the fact that like, I want to put in hardwood floors. Like I want to know about like, what's going to help, what's going to last the longest, what's going to add the most resale value to the home. Like to me, these are the little details that I was asking them.
Right.
So I knew who to hire. Right. Because again, like I can get anyone to come and put a fucking floor in that will like look cool. But like, if I don't really understand what's going on with that floor, it doesn't fully benefit me. So again, looking at your client relationships in the same sense is that they don't know shit about the internet. That's what they're relying on you for, you know? So
then giving them like, yeah, okay. And then also taking it from my own, like an experience of my own of how I would go to, okay, I like that.
Yeah. I mean, again, like looking for the win in understanding that like why somebody hires an agency is not just like, it's a common misconception that people think they hire an agency just to get first place rankings. Like that's of course what they're hiring you for, but that's not the only reason why they're hiring you,
Got it.
Like I'm actually interviewing some agencies now to help us out with Facebook ads. And like, it's become even more apparent to me about how terrible agencies are at selling and positioning, because like these people are coming to me, telling me what they think I want to hear instead of just listening to me and being like, hey, I know ads probably better than you do, but like what I'm looking for is somebody who can like, I can bounce ideas off of and like come up with new ad strategies. And like, I've interviewed 5 agencies and I've been like, next time we talk, like, can you come up with one idea? Like, I'm not trying to get free work. Like come up with one idea, like look at my account and like, and like nobody's doing it for me. You know what I'm saying? So like, there's also not to be confused too. Like there's, what you don't want to do is you don't want to sell something that you don't deliver. Meaning you don't want to go to someone and be like, hey, like I do SEO. That's all that we do. But like, you're a restaurant, so social media is really good for you. I can help with that. You don't want to do that. You want to focus on what it is that you're selling. But after you get the contract on board, if you're just doing SEO, if they're paying you $500 a month and you're not going to be able to rank them, you can still add value to that relationship and have them justify paying you that money by adding that extra support layer. You know what I'm saying?
Got it. Yeah.
To be like, you should really be doing AdWords too. Even if you don't I do it all the time, right? We look at ourselves as, and this is important, especially when you're first getting started, do not do any custom work. Do not do anything outside of what you do. That's where all the hours get lost. Again, like this conversation that we're having now, if you think about it,
100%.
You've been waiting forever to have the right conversation with me and think about
it's still not even,
you know what I'm saying? Not saying this is a bad conversation. I'm happy to do these whenever you want, but I'm saying is that like, if you think about that, if you think in the context of how important this call was to make sure that the context was right, and you're spending all this time and energy on something that, again, isn't really that important. You know what I'm saying? Not that it's not. I'm
Yeah.
just saying.
No,
Right?
100%. Like I actually, that's why I was even hesitant of calling, because it's like, I would have rather have had like a legitimate issue, that something that was boggling my mind. There is one other question I have that actually is still boggling my mind. I'm going to ask, I mean, we have what, 12 more minutes, I guess, technically.
Yeah, we got time.
So, I mean, no. And I didn't take it that way. I actually agree with you. I agree with you 100%. Like I would rather have come up with something a lot more, deep, if that's the word, something, but anyhow, yeah. So I think what it is, I mean, what you outlined is so true. I have put so many more hours than I should. I have gone out of my way. I've like personally, I'm not this great website, builder, obviously, but I've like done these websites for them to the best of my ability. And I've done all these things. And what ends up happening is that in this case of the bar, the personal friends, so they're, but other people have dropped me because they're like, well, I didn't get the results I want. I'm like, well, dude, I mean, again, you didn't listen to me in the beginning when blah, blah, blah. I said it was impossible for X, Y, and Z, but you got X, Y, and Z, but they never saw the value in that. And so anyhow, I guess the other question, and this is obviously, I know you made some videos about this, but you mentioned hiring people on Upwork. And one of the things that I went onto Upwork and I kind of was looking at it, how do you gauge? I mean, do you just test them out? Also, another thing is budget for me, right? I'm like, I don't have, let's say, X amount of dollars to just throw at them just to test them out. Like I want to be able to kind of maybe find someone a couple hours here and there to help me with some, minuscule like Excel spreadsheet stuff that I can, for backlink or whatever.
Yeah. Well,
what's your take on that?
I mean, we use Upwork all the time.
Right.
I'm in there actually twice a week. We probably have like right now 10 to 12 active contracts in there. And we actually use it. Sometimes we hire outside of Upwork, but then we make them bill through Upwork because it's just an easier billing system for us. So we have quite a bit of work going through there. But I think the first thing is defining what you need. If you want to outsource work, and I'm hesitant to use the word outsource because to me, outsource means you're just going to hire some company and dump it all on them. It's really more of insourcing is what some people call it, meaning you're going to find somebody who's a contractor to come work on for you pretty much full time and support you. Right. So the first thing you need to do is just define out what you need. Like if you go up to Upwork and you're like, I need someone to do a little of this and a little of this and keyword research and like, answer emails and like build spreadsheets like this, you're going to get a really mixed bag of people that are probably not going to work out. Like you need to be highly focused and specialized. Like it'd be better off to hire 3 people to do very specific tasks than 1 to try and have them do all 3.
Oh, I see.
I mean, if you think about it, if you're going to pay someone $5 to $10 an hour, they're probably, and I mean this with all due respect, they're not going to be like Harvard MBAs,
No. Right.
So you want to make sure that what you have for them is very focused, while there's still enough hours so that they're not going to work full time somewhere else. That can be another problem. If you only give someone 5 hours a week, then they're going to have to fill in the other hours somewhere else. So
got it.
You got to get, first of all, again, just go back and really define, like write down in writing the job description, exactly what you need,
and have the process, like you said.
Yeah. And the process comes second, right? I mean, first is just like, you get to a point where like, I just can't do this shit anymore. Like, you know what I mean? Like I can't answer my emails or I can't build these spreadsheets. Right. So you just define what that needs, the skill set needed. And then you post a job. And after that, you can start to work on a process for them to do.
Okay.
So again, needs requirement, like really detailed, splitting that out. If it's SEO work, like make sure they have SEO experience, that whole thing. If it's data entry work, you can just hire someone that knows sheets, whatever. But then after that, I know you said you didn't want to spend money, but it is worth it to dedicate like, $50 to $100 per person for a test. This is also really important. Give them the work that you need done. You're going to have to pay them for it, obviously. But if they're $5, $10 an hour, again, you can get like a day's worth of work off of someone for pretty cheap. So
just do a test and see what happens.
Yeah. Give them a dummy environment. Like, for example, if you're hiring for keyword research, like give them the template. You can give them the videos and the blueprint if you want to. That's why you have it. It's yours now. Have them.
But are we allowed to give out the password?
I just use LastPass. Just share it.
Oh, that's okay.
Keep the password anonymous. I don't have a problem. This is what I tell people all the time: is as long as you're not sharing it with your peers, which I know you're not, then I don't care your staff. Like I built it so you don't have to do it. It's for somebody else,
I mean, I know that one of the training modules with the one of like 1.3 or something, like 1.2, whichever one that I forgot it is. But anyhow, you're like, hey, get someone to do this. It takes 2 or 3 hours. I get it. Okay.
Yep.
So, all
And
right.
you just basically give them a coloring book. And then after that, you know, you do have to manage them and train them and correct them and stuff. Like what we're giving you is a starting point. But again, you're still going to need to train them quite a bit. There's also people in the Blueprint Jobs channel that you can post in there if you need some stuff. There's quite a bit of offshore people in there that you might be able to pick up, but I still use Upwork.
Okay.
I personally use Upwork because there's too much, whatever. The point is that after you go through that, then I just tell them I'm like, hey, look, we're interviewing 3 people. We've all given them the same task. Whoever gets it done the fastest and the best is going to get the full-time job. So I kind of like, you know, push that on them too. So they understand, you know, that they're being evaluated for it. But I mean, it's a mixed bag, dude. Honestly, like, you know, I tell people all the time, like, you're going to have to probably hire 3 to 10 people depending on the job before you find that one person. But once you find that one person, dude, like I have my developers with me for 5 years. We have 2 people now that are supporting the Blueprint full time, that are answering all the questions, troubleshooting all the tools, that have been with us for 2 years. Like, they're mainstays. You know, they're very, very effective workers, you know.
Got it.
But it's a process to find and train them, for sure.
Okay. So I guess that there's no way to avoid that, which was what I was.
There's no way to avoid that. And that's with local people too. That's a misconception too, is that like, it's easier for them to flake or to, like, you know, not work out because they are virtual, different time zones and stuff. But like, local people are the same way, and they're just a lot more expensive. You know, like, finding good people is really hard, but it does start with us.
Okay. All right. Well, listen, thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
You know, I actually did get something out of this. You know, if there's one thing you affirmed me, like, my theory was I need to stop wasting my time with this and just focus on whatever.
For sure, man.
I think during our conversation, I realized that I certainly don't have like a website that I have anything to promote from. Mm-hmm. So obviously that's not you know, effective. So not a case study. Where is it going to be? Well, it has to be somewhere, right? So you just
definitely get a website, man. Definitely get a website. I mean, it's you can do it without one, but
no, you're right. I get it.
And it also gives you a good environment for somebody to work on too. Like, you know, one of the things that we train before pushing people off into client work is we give them our internal projects beforehand, before they go and fuck something up in front of a client. You know
wow. So that's a good idea.
Like, we need you to change page titles. They can go onto our website in the staging environment and do it. As opposed to going onto a client and like bombing their client's website.
That's brilliant. Yeah. I like that.
Yeah. You should definitely have your own website, you know.
You know, and I'll say this, like I'd said this before, but you know, over the years, like I've been trying at this for like 5 years, or whatever. But you know, you come across a lot of guys, and they're always talking about like, I'm the best at SEO, or I'm really good at this. But you know, there's one thing that I definitely appreciated was always the just you're very sincere. You know, the sincerity, like, from the start, and you never really, you know, you kind of made it clear, like, hey, I could market for, you know, the word, you know, being SEO expert or whatever, but I'm not, can I really market for a lawyer as well as I can for that word? You know what I mean? Or get the content. And so I do appreciate that. And I do get the fact that I should have been in a different position, you know, but before, you know, having a better, like a more, you know, not sensible conversation, but more like just, you know, more depth with regard to like the subject matter. But you still helped me out, and I appreciate it, actually. So
yeah, dude. I mean, that's what I'm here for. Don't feel bad about hitting me up. You know.
Yeah. Thank you. And I think that if I ever do, and I don't know, we're only allowed this once, right? That's how it works.
Again, dude. I mean, I don't say it publicly. I mean, honestly, most people don't take me up on this. I probably only do like 1 or 2 of these a week. I'm happy to do them again, and I don't see. I mean, I think these are all good questions, because I think what you did get from this, honestly, too, is that, you know, I was about to tweet this out and go on a Twitter storm today, is that like, you should always be focusing on solving bigger problems. You know what I'm saying? Like, the bigger the problem you solve, the more money you're going to get, point blank, you know? Yeah. So if you're solving problems, like if you're solving problems, especially for people who don't necessarily understand what the problem is, you're just going to spend a lot of time trying to figure out a problem that ultimately isn't big enough to get you paid the way you want anyways, you know? So like, you should just continuously looking to solve bigger problems. And again, working with friends and family is tough. One of the reasons I don't do it is that, because again, you end up spending more of that time on your capacity solving problems for them that you're not getting paid to solve, you know? So that's just my thoughts on it again. But like, when you're getting started, you got to go through the shit, you know, but like, just make sure that you're always taking steps forward. and you don't just get stuck in a situation where you're constantly going laterally and thinking you're going forward, you know?
Got it. Yeah.
So yeah, that's my thoughts,
Cool.
man. Yeah, but yeah, hit me up if you need anything. I'm here.
I appreciate it. Have a great day.
All right, brother.
All right.
You too.
Cool.